Shabbat Shalom. King David declared, "Seek peace and pursue it." The sages comment on this. Seek peace for your loved ones and pursue it for your enemies. Seek peace where you live and pursue it elsewhere. Seek peace with your body and pursue it with your resources. Don't feel bad if you need to get a massage, do some Reiki, some acupuncture. The sages have said to seek peace with your body and pursue it with your resources. Seek peace for yourself and pursue it for others. Seek peace today and pursue it tomorrow. The final exhortation actually means that one should never despair of making peace. Rather, they should pursue it today and then pursue it tomorrow and the next day until he or she attains it. So there's a story that the rabbis relay about this. So think about it. If thick ropes, which pull a wagon, are strained over and over and over again regularly, think Fiddler on the Roof or whatever, big wagon ropes, they will become weak and eventually they will tear. So it is with strife. If one does not succeed in making peace on the first or the second attempt, nevertheless, he or she should not abandon the pursuit of this sacred achievement, which ultimately words, Devarim, will hopefully accomplish. However, if words and efforts have no effect at all upon the prime quarrelers, because they have become overpowered by their appetite for triumph and are blind to the truth, then he or she may be able to influence instead those who have been drawn into the quarrel that is not their own. In this way, he or she will save them from the bitter retribution which results from strife in the way of Moshe. Our parsha this Shabbat is Devarim. It is the first one and the very last of the 5 books of Moses. There is some sort of synchronicity in the fact that in this universe, our parsha falls at the end of the most negative 3 weeks in our Jewish cycle. During Mercury retrograde and the Shabbat immediately prior to Tisha B'Av, the darkest day in our history. If you've been feeling, let me know, unusually more wrought, anyone more wrought with frustration? Are you having problems with your computers or your phone? You have a little bit of malaise. No one's understanding you. You think you're being clear. You're navigating seemingly endless obstacles, or maybe you're just having a harder time handling life. This is a large reason why. The Mercury retrograde, which we've always discussed, but on top of it, the negative 3 weeks. And it always happens juxtaposed right around each other. So we get a double whammy. Tisha B'Av begins at sundown tomorrow night, at the end of Shabbat. Okay, so it is said don't go in the water on Tisha B'Av. That means from Saturday night to Sunday, don't go in the water if you can help it. My children always hated it because I wouldn't let them go in the water and we lived by the beach. Now, normally after Shabbat tomorrow, we would wish everyone what? Shavua Tov. May you have goodness and light and joy. But Jews all over the world, instead, tomorrow night, may be sitting like a Shiva in mourning, lowly on the floor. A couple years ago, I was with my daughter in her Orthodox shul, and we all sat on the floor. No makeup, no jewelry, no deodorant, no shower, no anything, on the floor, because we're supposed to simulate mourning, because we are in mourning for what has happened on that day. In a moment, we're going to sing By the Waters of Babylon, and the words are, We lay down and wept for thee, Zion. We remember thee, Zion. The troubles never really seem to cease. The hope ever present in the Israeli national anthem by the same name, Hatikva, is that we are a people who remember, and yet we remember, but we move on. We are here. We matter. We aren't going anywhere. Bad things have happened to us, and you know what? Bad things will continue to happen to us. But we are resilient. We will persevere no matter what. We won't give up. Tisha B'Av commemorates all the terrible things that have happened on this day, the 9th of Av. The spies, remember the story of the 10 spies? They went off, they returned with a bad report that prevented that entire generation from getting into the promised land. A negative, horrible accounting of what they saw. Additionally, what happened on this day, there was the destruction of the very first temple by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. The destruction of the second temple, destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. There was the Bar Kokhba revolt. Everyone thought Bar Kokhba was the Messiah. The revolt against the Romans was crushed, and there was a massacre at Betar, and the plowing over the entire Temple Mount. Then there was the expulsion of the Jews from England in 1290. The expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492. All of this on this day. First Crusade declared on Tisha B'Av, resulting in a significant amount of Jewish casualties. The outbreak of World War I. While not directly linked to a specific Jewish event, some historians say that it actually began on the Hebrew date of Tisha B'Av. The Warsaw Ghetto to Treblinka, the first mass deportations from the ghetto to the extermination camp, began on this day. And the Nazi final solution, the plan for the systematic murder of European Jews, was approved on this day. You can see it's a horrible, terrible thing. Many in our history have tried to devalue and eradicate us, but we are still here. We are like glorious cockroaches. We are still here, which brings us back to the very beginning of this sermon. Seek peace and pursue it. We are never, ever, ever to stop. Now, the interesting thing is that the Parsha is linked, as we said, the Shabbat to Devarim, which is all about what? Words. Words can hurt, but words can heal. Words can incite hate, confusion, doubt, or through effective communication, words can sometimes create a bridge to walk across. And then there are times when too much has happened or too much has been spoken. There's that High Holy Day children's story of once you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in. And there's just actually too much water under the bridge. So maybe a great flood needs to come, and we float upon the waters in our ark, waiting for the signal that a new world is forming, and with it, new order, new opportunity, and the promise of peace. Our world is in such chaotic disarray, and yet, as we remember on this Tisha B'Av coming up, this is nothing new. It is more of a cycle that keeps repeating itself over time until we can all figure out how to reach for something new. Figure out how to use our words, our speech, to manifest something new and build a brighter world together filled with peace. The saying, speak and so you shall become. So much of the tape that we tell ourselves affects our ability to relate at our highest and best. Sometimes the tape that we tell others affects our perception and theirs, coloring our world in a way that does not serve us well, or that's even in alignment with God's plan for us. The Kabbalists reveal that in terms of energy, and Kabbalah is all about energy, Tisha B'Av is the most negative day of the year. And yet it is said that on this day, the Messiah will be born. So how can the darkest day be the seed for the greatest light? The answer is that there is a polarity of opposites. Whatever is the greatest amount of negativity that exists, there's also correspondingly positive energy. It's the yin-yang of Judaism. If the darkness is there, so too is the light. We need to hang on, we need to be aware, and we need to flip it. Or we need to just turn it over to God to do it for us. Always for the purpose of sharing. We don't ever ask God Kabbalistically for anything for ourselves alone. It is always for the purpose of sharing. Tisha B'Av reminds us that even though horrific things have happened, even though both temples were destroyed thousands of years later, we didn't have to have an actual physical dwelling place. Thousands of years later, we are still here, and so too is the promise. As we go through the rest of this weekend and toward the middle of August, because let us remember we also are still in Mercury retrograde, let's be kind to each other. Let's be kind to ourselves. Let us use our words to express positivity and gratitude. Let us work to promote and restore peace to ourselves so that it may radiate out to help uplift our community and our world as we begin our journey toward High Holy Days. Sorry, guys, get with it. 7 weeks and 3 days. The number 7 equals Tov, goodness. So may our presence here today and always showing up for Torah and Emet bring goodness. And may it reinforce and affirm that we matter. The number 3, creating order out of the chaos. 7 weeks and 3 days from now, we will be doing Erev Rosh Hashanah. We aren't going away. And as it is written, we will never despair of making peace. We will pursue it today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day, and after that, until we attain it. Our people and our world so desperately needs it. So we ask that God be with us on this journey through our individual and our collective darkness, always there, carrying us and lighting the way, leading us toward the promise, leading us toward peace. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Shabbat Shalom.